Hello and welcome to MetroArts. I'm your host, Cheryl Coonan. Here on MetroArts, we highlight some of the best in the business, from fine artists, photographers, and performing artists to cinematographers and musical artists, all from the Metro Detroit area. On today's show, we have the Executive Artistic Director of Magenta Giraffe Theater, Frannie Shepherd-Bates, artist Gary Eleinko, and indie pop band Otto Vector. We'd like to welcome the Executive Artistic Director of Magenta Giraffe Theater, Frannie Shepherd-Bates, to the Midtown studio. Hi, Frannie.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So Magenta Giraffe is so many things: a nonprofit, a community, a place where theater comes alive. Can you tell us a little bit more about the company?
Absolutely. We were founded in 2008, and we have always produced shows that we feel directly speak to issues in our community that people want to talk about. We also have run a variety of programs in the community to address whatever needs we feel folks have as well.
That's awesome. So a lot of people are saying that Detroit's going through a transformation right now, and even the ideas about the city and viewpoints are changing now as well. So how do you use the power of theater to transform the community?
Well, first of all, we want to start constructive discussions about whatever issues our productions address. We've also gone out into the community to do different programs that will open up theater to people. We transformed a vacant lot on Wayne State's campus into a temporary outdoor performance space last fall. We also have our program where we go into the prison in Ypsilanti and do Shakespeare with the women there to empower them and hopefully help them become citizens who contribute positively to their community.
That's great. So what is your role in Magenta Giraffe?
I am the Executive Artistic Director, which means that I oversee the company and make sure that we adhere to our mission in everything that we do, whether it's artistic or anything else.
So Magenta Giraffe, I know, relies heavily on audience participation and community participation with the direction of the script. Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
Absolutely. So especially this season, that's very, very true, because in the past we've done work by local playwrights, new work by people who don't live here, and established work as well. This season we're doing 2 completely original plays by local playwrights and 1 adaptation of a classic. And the 2 plays that are completely original were first read in our stage reading festival last spring, where audience had direct feedback into the development of the script, and we are now giving them full productions.
That's really cool. So how long does it take to shape a script from beginning to end?
That depends on the playwright. Depending on how long the playwright has spent writing the piece, which in this case I'm not sure how long those playwrights had the pieces before they submitted them to us, but we read them in May, and they'll be produced in February and April. So just under a year to take the script from a workshop to a full production.
Very cool. So you've got a playwrights group that acts as an avenue for professionals to work on production-ready scripts. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about this program for writers?
Yeah, we're really excited because this is a brand new program for us, and it's an opportunity for people who are writing plays from a variety of different levels of experience to come together on a monthly basis, read those plays, and give each other feedback to further develop them and hopefully get them produced very, very soon. So
all different levels of people can join in.
Professionals, students, anybody is welcome.
Great. So do these scripts ever make it to stage?
We hope they will. They are definitely welcome to be submitted to our stage reading festival, but we've also produced plays that were not part of the stage reading festival that are new. So we're always looking for new scripts. If they come out of our playwrights group, that's fantastic. If they don't, that's fantastic too.
Very open. Very nice. So according to your website, the theater acts to eliminate apathy and violence and contribute to more peace in the community. How are you guys working toward that, and what are your long-term goals for Magenta Giraffe?
Well, one of the ways that we address that is that any production that we do is going to address at least one facet of our mission statement. Any program that we do will also affect that. We're looking to expand our programming in the future, to bring back workshops that we used to do, to further develop the program we do at the prison in Ypsilanti, and to offer even more things as we get better and better organized and hopefully better and better funded.
Great. So I know you were previously from Detroit. Mm-hmm. What made you want to come back and start the theater?
I felt that, that Detroit in particular had a need for a theater company that was focused on community and not just on producing shows, not just on the artistic aspects of that. My co-founders felt the same way. This is our favorite place in the world, and we felt that we could contribute to our community through theater. That's what we know how to do, and we're happy to do it.
That's awesome. It's such a great thing that you're doing. So you mentioned the Shakespeare program for women in prison. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. That began in February of 2012. I've been going in, and we have a team of volunteers this year as well to join me to work with a group of inmates with Shakespeare to empower them to develop a variety of skills that will not only enhance their lives while they're in prison, but if and when they return to society, that they can use what skills they've learned, self-esteem, confidence, things like that, to make a positive impact on their communities and hopefully not go back to prison in the future.
Sure. Is that program pretty well received?
Yeah, we get great feedback in the prison from the inmates who participate, the inmates who see the shows, the administrative staff is very, very supportive, and we have a lot of support in the outside community as well.
That's great. So where can people go to find out more about you and about the theater?
They can go to www.magentajiraffe.org and find out anything they want to know.
Terrific. Well, thank you for being here with us today, Frannie. We really appreciate it. And since Magenta Giraffe is so many things wrapped into one, we've put together a video to highlight some of the things it has to offer. Support for the Magenta Giraffe Theater segment was provided by the Coleman Foundation. MetroArts would like to welcome artist Gary Eleinko to the Wayne State University campus. Thanks for being here, Gary.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So you recently had an exhibition called Inspired by Science. Can you tell us about some of those pieces and what influenced them?
Yes, it was a show that Maureen Devine put together for the research labs at U of M, the old Pfizer buildings. And she was doing a show about science since that was what the buildings were about originally. And she saw two paintings that we were working on at the time. One was about homage to Carl Linnaeus, who's the father of taxonomy, the way we classify all living things and now non-living things also, and still used today. And back in the 1700s, he realized the relationships between plants, kingdoms, genera, classifications, and so forth. And then that led to Dmitry Mendeleev, who invented the periodic table. And both of these men dealt with understanding the Earth and how things on the Earth are related to each other. And both of them were homage to the intelligence of them. And then there was a third one about space, the heliocentric solar system, and then the astronomer Hubble, who took us outside of our galaxy into the outer universe. And then there were 10 small pieces that were constructions that dealt with 10 specific elements from the periodic table. I'm still working on that series.
Wow, that's pretty in-depth. So what do you find about science to be so inspiring?
It's about the Earth. We live on the Earth, and science and all these things make up what the Earth is. It's amazing that just less than 100 elements make up everything we know, everything that we see, everything we touch, everything we look at. Just these 100 things mixed up in different combinations.
Very cool. So how did your love for art originate?
Oh, that's probably through my mother. When I was 5 or 6, she would take me to the DIA. So it goes in with what's happening in the city right now. But when I was 5 or 6, I was going to see these paintings at the DIA, and she took me every year, and I just fell in love with painting.
So she planted the seed early for you.
Yeah, she did. I don't think she realized it at the time.
Well, I bet you're glad she did. In your personal statement on your website, you mention your childhood love for nature and natural disasters. Can you talk about that and how that's influential in your art?
Right. When you're a kid, those big things like hurricanes and earthquakes and big fires and the Hindenburg blowing up and stuff like that just intrigue you. And back then, who would ever think there would be a weather channel? But now we have a weather channel, we have extreme weather programs, we have disaster movies dealing with all this stuff, and it's about the forces of nature and how the forces of nature are really so much more powerful than anything that man does, how the forces of nature probably will eventually win out. Man can only do so much, but an earthquake can destroy it all in a matter of seconds.
Absolutely.
And yet nature continues. The next, on a volcano right after St. Helens, the next spring there were plants coming up out of the volcanic lava and everything. And so nature just has a way of excelling.
Sure, it's amazing. So you've been creating art since the 70s. How has your work changed from then until now?
Originally, I was doing some botanical paintings on square canvases, and then those evolved into more geometric stuff. But after a while, I kept thinking, you have these edges you have to deal with, and the rectangular canvas just sort of arbitrary. So then the things I was drawing on the canvas, I took off and started creating structures and building things. And so whatever I was doing became the object itself. It was no longer confined by the square border. And so then through the years, they've gone through a series of changes. I've often used found objects like the Cat's Corridor does. And I've gone through a series of X's and triangles, geometric shapes that appeal to me for different reasons. And then a long time ago, I did botanical stuff, and I'm reintroducing some of the botanical stuff back into the stuff I'm doing today.
We know you're also on the board of the Detroit Artist Market. Tell us about your role there.
Well, the Artist Market has a special place in my heart because I started showing there in the 70s. In the 80s, I was on the exhibition committee, and I dropped off for about 10, 15 years. Then around 2005, I got involved again. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've been head of the exhibition committee. I was on the board. My board term just expired, actually, last month. You're allowed 3 terms.
Okay.
But it's a real important because it shows so much Detroit art. It's one of the oldest nonprofits in Detroit. It's been around for over 80 years. And they sell literally tens of thousands of dollars worth of art and show art
Very cool.
every year.
Now, I know you talked about earlier using objects in your art. So tell us about what kind of objects you use and what you're trying to achieve with that and kind of how it enhances your paintings.
It depends on the piece. Each piece requires different objects. Like I've done pieces with rose canes because the rose is a beautiful bush, but it has this protection of these thorns and stuff. And I like the idea of the soft and hard back and forth. And like I'm continuing the Elements series. I'm doing one of them is mercury. So I actually had to import from India mercury thermometers. I like including part of the element in the piece if I can.
Wow, very authentic.
Yeah, and so on the copper, I use copper wiring and copper pipes and so forth.
That is awesome.
And
Very cool. So we know you reside in Detroit's historic Corktown. Tell us about your home, and is that also an area of inspiration for you?
yeah, my home is 4 blocks from my studio. I'm just north of Michigan Avenue. My studio is in the Alternative Worksite building. My home is in Corktown proper, and part of it is the garden. I have a huge garden that I've been tending for 30 years, and it changes. It deals with color, it deals with texture, it deals with shapes. And so in some ways it relates, when I'm painting, I'm dealing with the same issues I'm dealing with in the garden.
Sure.
And the same thing, the house has lots of color. Color is very important to me. And I just have the house painted. It's probably like in maybe 5 or 6 or 7 colors right now, the outside. Just finishing it up. And then all the rooms inside, none of them are white. They all have some shade of color in them.
So everything's got a little bit of your expression in it.
Yeah.
So where would people go if they want to find your paintings?
Well, if you want to see something in real life, probably the only one that you can see right now is in the David Adamani Undergraduate Library. It's a large 9-foot piece that I showed at the Cat's Cafe a number of years ago. And it has to do with discarded media. It uses slides, cassette tapes, floppy disks, VHS tapes. And it's about our consumable society, how we throw things away. Mm-hmm. And not only are we throwing the actual physical object away, we're throwing away everything that's recorded on those tapes, the music, the literature, the movies, the memories, everything is being discarded. Wow. And then it started contrasting the past to the future.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Gary.
You're welcome. I enjoyed being here.
You're watching MetroArts on Detroit Public Television. Recently named Best Indie Band by the Los Angeles Times, it's local sensation Otto Vector. Here's No Coincidence on MetroArts Detroit.
This is no coincidence, no precedence. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Not complicated by some complex genetic code. Ooh, oh, 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 oh. Don't think for a minute here that you've done this all by yourself.
Wow, that was awesome, you guys. So how does it feel to get some West Coast love from the Los Angeles Times?
It was amazing and unexpected.
Yeah, it was really cool. Any press like that is outside of Detroit is just amazing, and it helps the band push us that much more.
Right, that's pretty big time, so
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce yourselves and then introduce the rest of the band?
Sure. I'm Mike, I play keyboards. This is Andrew, he plays guitar.
I'm Renee, I'm on vocals. Here's Will on drums. And Dan, bass.
Awesome. Well, I've got to ask you, I know you probably get asked this over and over, but where does the name Otto Vector come from?
It's just something we don't tell anybody, actually.
Really?
It's a secret, yep.
Top secret. But you all came up with it together.
Yes.
We just will never know how.
Right.
Okay, we'll have to figure that one out. So you've been touring since '04, so in a relatively short amount of time, you've received dozens and dozens of accolades. So what to the two of you has been most rewarding?
I would have to say traveling out to LA and collecting awards from the Indie Music Channel was such a rewarding and, again, unexpected experience.
Yeah, and then all of the attention we've gotten in Detroit recently has been really cool too. We were nominated for a DMA recently, which was really nice.
Wow.
And so all of the just little things are nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've done the Warped Tour, you've done Toronto's North by Northeast, you've been coast to coast entertaining audiences with your innovative sound. We gotta know, what is your favorite venue and who has the best fans?
Motown, hometown area, of course.
Definitely got the best fans around here, for
Yes.
sure.
So best venue, best fans, both?
Yeah, I think one of our favorite venues is Luna, which is in Royal Oak, in the Detroit area still. It's
Yeah.
a really fun place to play, and we enjoy it. So.
Well, how about outside of the Detroit area? Any favorite
Um,
venues?
All of not exactly. I'd say I don't know. Like in New York, we had fun playing at like Arlene's Grocery and things like that. But
The House of Blues in
the
LA
House of Blues
was
in LA was really
Wow.
awesome.
It was
Yeah,
incredible.
I
We played
bet.
there,
What a
yeah.
place.
Yeah, I'm
So-
sure. So you had a song that was featured in kind of a creepy Australian movie called Feed. How did that sort of come about?
The producer we were working with at the time, who was doing our album a couple years ago, his brother was the director of the movie actually, and that producer was putting the soundtrack together. So he liked us and we got put on it.
Very cool. What is your creative process like when you're starting a new song?
It typically starts with the basic tracks. It never starts first with vocals ever. It's just what works for us. Andrew or Sonic comes up with some kind of melody, and then we bring it to band. The rest of the fellas bring it together, and I'm usually the final piece to the puzzle.
Okay, cool. So how long does that process take from beginning to end, or does it just kind of depend?
Yeah, sometimes we'll start jamming a song and get it done that night. Sometimes we're hashing a song for months. And there's been ones that we've done years. Yeah,
Really?
years. Yeah, there's some songs that have taken years to
Do
come
those
out.
become your favorite songs?
No, they might actually, I don't know, sometimes more hated, more loved.
Awesome. So what inspires you in your music?
Inspires. We're very inspired by video games a lot. The creative element to, Koji Kondo,
Really?
yeah, Pac-Man, Mega Man.
Nice.
The music bleeps and sounds that they used back then were awesome, and we oftentimes will sample them. But like what inspires us, everything inspires us, everything around us, experience around us,
pretty much.
We just like write music, so that's what we do.
Nice. So where can our viewers find your music and find you on social media?
You can go to www.ottovector.com, spelled OTTOVECTOR.com.
Great. And you're on all Facebook, Pinterest.
Yes, all of the
Twitter.
links are on our website. So
Cool, thanks. Well,
everything's
thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Here again is Otto Vector with their hit single, Charlie Mix, on MetroArts Detroit, produced at the Wayne State University Midtown Studio.
Do we ever listen when they tell us it'll be this hard? And would we even listen if they told us just what to say? And what is done, no need to say. And tomorrow will be much better than yesterday. Have you always wanted what was coming to us? Save me, has been. No one ever told us it was tomorrow. Have you always wanted what's coming to us? Save me. It was always sending me. It was just so far away. And sing it aloud. We'll make us sing. Then you're almost stopping us. How we can run all around. No proof or wrong. But then you're almost stopping us. In between. Have you always wanted what was coming to us? Save me, has been. No one ever told us it was so far. Have you always wanted what's coming to us? Save me. It was always sending me. It was just so far away. Sing it aloud. I'll make us sing. Then you're almost stopping us. So we can run all around. No proof or wrong. But then you're almost stopping us. Have you always wanted what was coming to us? Save me, has been. Who never told us it was so far away, yeah. So far away, yeah. Far away, yeah. Far, far away. Hey, we can sing it aloud. We'll make us sing. Then you're almost stopping us. Now we can run all around. No proof or wrong. But then you're almost stopping us.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. I'd like to thank our guests, Frannie Shepherd-Bates, Gary Eleinko, and Otto Vector for joining us today. I'm your host at MetroArts, Cheryl Coonan, reminding you to foster your own creativity and always support the arts wherever you go.